Just want to briefly talk about the new Nosferatu movie and make my first YouTube video on this channel. Um, Basically, in short, it's a very good movie, uh, as is almost always the case with Robert Eggers movies. I do think it's slightly worse than The Northman and The Lighthouse. I believe those movies were slightly better, but it's only a level below. It's still up there. It's still a good, maybe even great movie, but just a little bit a hair below those two in my opinion. The movie has a lot of good things going for it. Like most Robert Egger movies, the atmosphere. The atmosphere that he creates is very good. It's a very atmospheric movie, I guess. It is basically a remake of the old 1922 version, 1922 movie, The Nosferatu, which I only briefly watched just to see, so I can compare, if there is much difference. And the story is basically the same. I haven't watched the old one, to the end, because mostly because it's kind of a bit goofy. The main villain, Count Orlok, or the vampire Nosferatu, is kind of goofy, compared to the modern Count Orlok. I couldn't watch it till the end. It was kind of not as good as the modern one, obviously. In short, the story is about this girl called Ellen, who is kind of she's kind of like some kind of psychic. I don't know, some kind of spiritual person. Yeah, has some spiritual power. She can commune with other worlds. And when she was a young girl, she was kind of lonely, and she sort of prayed to no entity in particular. She just prayed into the, I don't know, ether, into the into the air. I don't know, for somebody to come and give her comfort and deliver her from her loneliness. And out of all the angels, out of all the beings that could have come, to her aid, um, came Nosferatu, or Count Orlok. Not physically, but sort of psychically. He sort of psychically, came to her and comforted her, and she promised herself to him, which was a very bad mistake on her part. And that's basically that this sort of her promise to her promise to him that she will be eternally his, basically triggers the whole plot in this movie. Eventually, her relationship with the Nosferatu, turns sour, and she begins to feel ashamed and melancholic because of this relationship. But then she meets her husband, Thomas Hutter, and her marriage with him sort of pushes aside Count Orlok from her psyche, and sort of cures her, at least for a period of time. But then Count Orlok comes, for his for what was promised to him for Ellen, and that's where the movie basically begins. Truly, I don't want to go through the whole story. I don't want to spoil it to. Probably no one will watch this video, but in case you haven't watched, in a very rare small chance that you watch this video and you haven't watched the Nosferatu. I don't want to spoil it for you. If you know the short primer that I told you, a short snippet sounds interesting, I would recommend you go and watch it. Count Orla character is, I would say, the best part of the movie. The actor, he's like this Swedish guy. It's a whole family. I can't remember his name. It's like one of the, I think, Skigards. I think Skigards is the family. Maybe not Swedish, maybe Danish. They're a famous acting family. Because of all the makeup, I couldn't tell that it was him, but he really did a great job with this movie. You know, he really portrayed a menacing Count Orlok compared to the goofy Count Orlok from 100 years ago. But you know, we have to be a bit more charitable, I guess. You know, it was only the beginning of the, you know, of cinema. You know, they haven't developed all the techniques and technologies that are used to create modern movies. Besides Count Orlok, another interesting character is the sort of kind of occult doctor that Willem Dafoe plays. I can't remember his name. What I cannot remember the name of his character. He's basically this sort of doctor that was shunned aside from the medical community because he had kind of weird ideas, you know, about, you know, the occult, alchemy, philosophy, and people in the 19th century weren't really into that type of shit. You know, they were kind of more progressive. You know, they thought that's kind of backwards thinking, which it turned out, at least in this movie, that it wasn't backwards thinking. That he was, you know, actually was onto a lot of things, and he had some legitimate knowledge that, you know, ultimately came very handy. And without him, you know, the problems in the movie couldn't be solved. I don't want to, you know, get into, you know, much more detail. Okay, that's about it. I don't have anything else to say. Bye bye.